In the dead of the night, whispers became gunshots. Nigeria's destiny was rewritten not by treaties or elections, but by soldiers who decided the ballot was too slow, too weak, and too corrupt. From 1966 until the end of the 1990s, coups were not interruptions in Nigerian politics. They were politics itself. Each plot was a gamble of blood, brotherhood, and betrayal. As one historian once wrote, the barracks, not the ballot box, became Nigeria's political laboratory. The coups revealed something raw. Young officers who once swore loyalty to their flag and commanders turned their guns inward. What they did in secret meetings, in whispered oaths, and in midnight marches reshaped the nation more than any act of parliament. The question remains, why did Nigeria's story become one of constant betrayal? Why did the soldiers who once stood shoulder to shoulder in war turn their rifles against each other? It was a Saturday morning that began with confusion, gunfire and blood. In the early hours of January 15, 1966, a group of young majors, led by Major Chukwuma Nzeogwu, launched Nigeria's first coup d'etat. Nzeogwu, then just 29 years old, was the face of a rebellion that claimed it was not after power, but to rid the country of the cancer of corruption. In his own broadcast from Kaduna that morning, his words were blunt. Our enemies are the political profiteers, the swindlers, the men in high and low places that seek bribes and demand 10%. The targets were the leading political figures of Nigeria's First Republic. In Lagos, Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa was abducted from his residence. His lifeless body would not be found until days after, dumped by the roadside. In Kaduna, Ahmed Bello, the premier of the northern region and one of the most powerful men in the Federation, was gunned down in his home along with his wife. In Ibadan, Samuel Ladoke Akintola, the premier of the western region, tried to fight back but was shot dead. The coup was bloody, but it was also incomplete. In Lagos, where power ultimately lay, Nzeogwu's allies struggled. They failed to neutralize the key military command structures. The plan that seemed unstoppable in the north faltered in the capital. When the smoke cleared, it was not Nzeogwu who held the realm of power. It was Major General John C. Ramsey, the commander of the Nigerian army. Here lay the first betrayal. Instead of punishing the coup plotters for mutiny and murder, Iranzi moved swiftly to consolidate power. Historians like Max Siolu note that Iranzi's actions planted suspicions that the January coup was more than a military revolt, that it was an Igbo-led conspiracy. Of the key victims, most were northern and western leaders. Of the surviving coup plotters, most were Igbo. Though Iranzi himself was not part of the coup, his decision to protect the young majors rather than court-martial them deepened the wound. The betrayal was felt keenly in the north. Sir Ahmed Bello's protege, a young Yakubu Gowon, would later recall how the killings changed the balance of trust in the army and the unity of the nation. In the days that followed, Nzeogwu was captured, and while in custody he said, "We wanted to build a strong, united, prosperous nation, free from corruption and internal strife. None of us has anything to gain personally. What happened was a revolution with clean intentions." But intentions could not erase reality. Nigeria's First Republic had collapsed, drowned in blood, and the general who took power in the coup's aftermath, Ramsey, would soon discover that in Nigeria's new political order, betrayal was the most reliable currency. Barely 6 months after the January coup, the army struck again. This time it was not led by a young idealist like Nzeogwu, but by northern officers determined to avenge the blood of their leaders. By July 1966, General Johnson Aguiyi had become head of state. He promised stability, but his policy deepened suspicion. His decree number 34, abolishing Nigeria's federal structure in favor of a unitary system, was seen in the north as proof of Igbo domination. To northern officers, the general killings already felt like an ethnic purge. Ironsi's decree confirmed their fears, so on the 9th of July 29, 1966, northern officers launched what became known as the revenge coup. Ironsi was in Ibadan, staying at the government house with his host, Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi, the military governor of the western region. The coup plotters stormed the residence, dragged both men out, and drove them into the night. Hours later, they were beaten and shot, their bodies dumped in the forest outside Ibadan. Fajuyi's death was especially symbolic. He had a chance to stand aside, but chose to share Ironsi's fate. Eyewitness account describes him saying, "If you're killing my guest, you must kill me too." In Kaduna, Major Nzeogwu, who had been detained since January, was executed by soldiers loyal to the northern coup. For them, justice was not in the courts, but at the barrel of a gun. By morning, the counter-coup was complete. Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, just 31 years old, was declared Nigeria's new head of state. In his first broadcast, he framed his rise as an act of salvation. The country has been faced with grave crises which threatened its unity. The tragic events of January 15th have not only left their scars, but have also led to increased suspicion and bitterness. We therefore felt it our duty to intervene. But beneath those measured words lay the truth. The army was now irreparably divided along ethnic lines. For the north, Ironsi's death was revenge. For the east, it was betrayal. A British diplomat in Lagos at the time captured the atmosphere. The army is no longer one. What we are now watching is not a coup alone, but the unraveling of Nigeria. The betrayal ran deep. Ironsi trusted his officers, many of whom had dined at his table days before, yet they turned on him. Fajuyi gave his life in defense of loyalty. Still, his sacrifice only underscored the brutal reality. In the new Nigeria, loyalty to the nation was secondary to loyalty to tribe, region, and survival. By the end of 1966, Nigeria was no longer merely unstable, it was on the road to war.